Hey, how's everybody doing? Welcome back to another episode of God Concept. I'm your host, Mr. Pagan. How's everybody doing today? Drinking my tea, staying in good spirits. Um, we're just moving forward and moving on. To be honest with you. See, it's one thing to move on in your personal life because everybody try to impose their will on you and they're so judgmental and observant, and I want to expound on what it means to either be judgmental and observant. Some do both. Some observe just to be judgmental. You know what I mean? Some will see what's going on just to judge and not see what's going on to observe. And then you got others that observe to be judgmental. I observe that, this life that we live in it is what it is. We all got our stories. We all got our whatever we find to be, true to us. We all got our stories to tell. We all got life to live, right? But to be judgmental of somebody's life or their story and not really know who that person is to read a book by its cover, and you know what they say about that. You can't really judge a book by its cover, but people do it all the time. The mindset of those people is kind of cynical. It's very cynical. You know what I mean? That to be judgmental of anybody, it's like for me to look at your life story and to just, not even know the ins and outs or the intricacies of what you've been through in your life and judge you based upon where you're at right now. Because that's where all the judgment comes from, really. You know what I mean? A person will look at where you at momentarily than where you're meant to be or where you're gonna be, what your end goal will be. You know what I mean? They judge in the moment. You know what I mean? Because you're going through something, or you have been through something, or something happened in your life that they probably wouldn't allow happen to them, or they think they wouldn't allow happen to them. But our stories, our life story, what we go through in this life is not merely up to us. If it's all written, if it's all somewhere written down, or if God knows, exactly what's going to happen, that means that your path was pretty much already paved. Your path is one to not be judged by anybody, by a judge at a courtroom, by judges in a jury. You know what I mean? Because the judge don't even like being judgmental. The judge let a jury of 12 say whether a person is guilty or innocent or not, or whether the case will be thrown out or settled out of court. And what do those 12 do before they pass judgment, right? Those 12 people sit in a deliberation room and they deliberate on the information that they was presented, and they observe that information and they pass judgment, right? But what if all the information wasn't calculated properly? What if all the information never really came to light? Then can you judge this person that you're about to condemn or not for anything? You can't. You know what I mean? You could say that a guilty man is innocent because of lack of information, right? You could say that an innocent man is guilty due to lack of information. You know what I mean? So in that aspect, you got to really ask yourself, what are you judging a person upon? You're judging a person upon third-party information, regurgitation. And everybody knows that when you take a secret and you tell one person and that secret goes around, right? And everybody hears the secret, right? By the time it gets to the last person, it's not truly what it was. The information that you gave the first person isn't always exactly as it was once it reached the last person who got the information, who brings the information forward, right? So the only way to really judge a person or not judge a person, right, is to actually get the information from the horse's mouth. That's what I do in many cases with this podcast. I give you information about my life and how I view life and the things that I've been through in life with certain people in certain places in certain situations and relationships in relation to my life, and how I see it, and really the only thing left for you to do is to observe that. you know Life is a lot easier when you're just observing. You know what I mean? Life is a lot better when there's less judgmental people or judgmentalness going on in the world. Because, okay, I can watch a million people on TV and on interviews and things like that, and they can give you their side of the story and all of that. And, you know, we can pass judgment on this person. We can say, oh, well, this happened in his life, or this happened in his life, or this is going on now, and this is going on now. But can you really pass judgment? Because this person might not be so forthcoming with all the information. Some information people don't give out, for accurate reading about what they're going through or accurate observation of what they've been through, because they don't really want to tell you the things, the real things, the things that might not sound so glamorous, or the things that might portray them to be something than they want them to be portrayed as. So really, you never get in the whole story, because a person out there could be a simp, right? A simpleton, or somebody that's true at heart. You know what I mean? Somebody who's more giving and more forthcoming and everything. And they might not want to be portrayed as that. They might want to be portrayed as a gangster, or they might want to be portrayed as a person who never wavers in what they think or what they feel. Or they might just want to give you the side of the story that portrays them as being what they deem to be a man in many people's eyes, or a woman in many people's eyes. But that might not be the truth. A lot of people do this all the time, especially with the people who's scared of judgment and who's scared of observation. You know what I mean? They lie about their lives. You have undercover gays and things like that. I really don't care how you live your life. I'm just an observer. So at that point, it's like you'll have a lot of people pretending to be men and women who live secret lives, right? Now, when this is going on, that person is not being true. That person is not being forthcoming. The truth always comes to light, right? So if the truth always comes to light, and we're merely observing somebody's life, right? And you tote this person up, put them up on a pedestal like they the best fucking person in the world, like they got everything going for themselves, and really they don't. You know what I mean? Until certain facts comes out to light about people that know them and portray them in a different type of light. You know what I mean? And then it'll skew everyone's judgment on this person, or everyone's observation of this person. A lot of times we're wrong. A lot of times our observations are wrong, right? About a person. A lot of times our judgments about people are wrong. You know what I mean? They're off base, because you haven't walked a mile in that person's shoes. So you can't really observe this person properly. You can't really judge this person properly, because you don't know what they've been through, their personal accounts in their life, what happened to them and what they've been through. All you see is the product of what they've been through. Now, for you to judge that is, that for me, that tells me that it weighs heavy on you. When you judge somebody, you become the judge one. You know what I mean? For you to judge somebody, you become the one under judgment. You know, that being said, a lot of people that judge people are just merely people who don't have anything to do with their own. You know what I mean? Anytime you take time out of your life to really sit there and judge somebody or condemn somebody because of their situation or what they've been through in their life, you really not taking account of your own. In actuality, in your time of judgment, right? You can be condemning yourself to something that's, either good or bad because you're judging a person, right? You might change your outcome just by merely judging a person on something you're not supposed to. We can observe. There's nothing wrong with being an observer of a person, but when that observation becomes judgmental, that's when you have a problem. You know what I mean? Well, a lot of times they look at it like the person that's being judged has the problem, but really it's you that has the problem, the judger, right? This is why a judge don't even like judging a person. He likes to appoint the judging to 12 jury members who go in deliberation and judge on a person's life. Just like being an observer. You know what I mean? I could observe a person's life. I could be with a person, in the midst of a person, know they're doing something wrong and this and that. But never judge them. Just observe. This person might be doing something wrong or negligent to you personally, but you still can't judge this person because you never know what's going on in their mind, in their atmosphere, you know what I mean, of their mind, the theater of the mind, right? They might think everything that they was doing was appropriate. You got people that go and have pillow talk with people and sleep with other people and talk about business, because that's when the best judgments are being passed, right? When somebody's laying in the bed with somebody butt ass naked after they done fucked 1,000 times, that's when they really could, that's when they tell you the truth about situations, or they tell you what they believe to be the truth about situations. But all the time is not really true. All the time is not skewed. More than likely, a person that's being observant and telling you shit about somebody else's life is not being forthcoming, because they always going to paint themselves out in a greater light as possible. Your mom, your mother. Yeah. Just had a guy ride past and did a lewd comment. He's probably with the CIA. I don't know. There's a lot of dick suckers around here, but I digress. Because again, that was me being judgmental, right? Well, not really, because he made a lewd comment, so I kind of was being an observer of his lewd comment. So I said his mother. Right now what I'm going through, right, here in Philadelphia, is I'm being observed and judged in a way that I shouldn't be, right? But they do it nonetheless because they want it to make happen something that won't happen. And I'm not going to allow it to happen. I'm not going to act in a way other than I should act. It's my life. I'm in control of it. You know what I mean? I'm the one to say whether I come and go, whether I'm happy or angry, whether I steadfast and get through the situation, or whether I go somewhere else and get through the situation. Either way, right? But this is the thing. That's all we have in this life. You know what I mean? Is when you're dealing with people, right? You have judgmental people and you have observant people, right? Now, me personally, right, being an observer, I sit back and I watch my whole entire atmosphere and people, how they either judge or observe. And more than likely, 9 times out of 10, the observations is wrong. The observations are totally wrong about you, about the things that you're going through, because they really don't know you. You know, at the end of the day, we're all human and we all go through things, right? Now, when you live in a society where everything is controlled, people tend to hate when they don't have control over you. People tend to hate that shit. Like, they have a disdain for not being able to control someone in a manner or way that they want to be controlled. You know, especially cities and states, governing entities. You know, at the end of the day, if I'm a human being with free will, then, and you incarcerate me or try to incarcerate me or anything like that, that's you doing what? Being butthurt because a person got you by your own game. You know what I mean? See, when you judgmental, you tend to be more reactive to things, right? When you're judgmental, you tend to be very more reactive to things, right? When you're reactive to things, that could get you in a place, or they could get you in a place that you never wanted to be, right? They could put you in a situation that you never wanted to be in, you know, or intended to be in, right? And in the same token, you know, when you're reactive to things, sometimes your reaction could be the very thing that puts you on a plateau to get to where you got to go, right? To really get the best out of life. And why is this? Because the world loves making a person react to what they want them to react to. A person loves making you react to something they want you to react to, right? So if you could ride past and make a lewd comment or a lewd gesture about somebody or to somebody, right? And then you react by hurting this person or doing something to this person, or, you know, the world applauds that because we live in a world of chaos right now, right? It's a lot of chaos going on. The world loves chaos, right? That's why a lot of our people, right, when you see them go to jail and they kill somebody or something like that, and then they come out a millionaire, or when they kill somebody out in the streets and then they go to prison and then they come out and they're being glorified because of that thing. That's because that's what the world wanted them to do. They reacted, and in the way that the world wanted them to react. But as a reaction, is that reaction, right, okay with you? You being an observer of yourself, because that's the only thing we truly could observe and get answers from. You know, I mean, we could observe this world and get answers from this world, but you got to be truly observant. You can't have judgment to really get those answers, right? You have to ask those questions within yourself and continue to watch and see what this person is going to do and their character and who they are to really grasp the concept of that person. Because everybody has their own concept. Everybody got something that they stand on, business that they stand on, right? But is it truly what you know, is it truly what you stand on when you were forced to make or take certain actions, right? You don't know. You don't know. No, it's not really. Okay, I'm going to give you a situation, right? Now, you watch a boy or a woman, I mean, a boy or a girl become of age, right? You watch them going through their life. They're they going through things, right? Just because you know them their whole life don't mean you know everything about their life. Because this boy or this girl is going to grow up, you know, a little bit. They're going to travel around. They're going to meet other people. They're going to go through a lot of things, right? Now you continue to watch this person, right? You continue to watch them, and you continue to watch their progress and their growth as they're becoming into who they are meant to be, right? And then one day you see them, right? in a situation that's not of the same boy or girl that you knew when you originally started watching them grow up, or seeing them growing up, right? Then you start passing judgment on them. Well, why is this? Or why is that? Well, he ain't ever. Da, da, da. Then you got the speculations and the rumors that start. All of that is because of judgment, right? All of the speculation and rumors and this and that is purely because of judgment, because people out there watching them, or the neighborhood is watching them, their community is watching them, right? Then one day you see that they become back to what they naturally were supposed to be. You see the inner child in them becoming exactly what they, you know what I mean, returning back to that natural childlike state. That's because they push past all the judgment, all the rhetoric, all the rumors, and all of that stuff. They return back to their childlike state. They start doing things that's more natural or conducive to who they are, because they're not being judged. They're being forthcoming and forthright with themselves. And then a lot of times doing that, you get judged upon that. You get judged upon you being forthcoming and virtuous with yourself. So then you got a group of people, not a group of people, but then, then you have the same neighborhood or community start judging you based upon that. Oh, you a bitch, you this, you that, da-da-da-da-da-da, because they don't know the character you is. See, it's easy to become a monster amongst men, right? And then become a good person. Like when Saul became Paul, right? The story of Saul and Paul, right? They're the same person. But this person, Saul, was a killer, right? This person, Saul, was a killer. He was cutting off heads and shit like that all the time, right? And then when he became Paul, he was revered because he changed those evil ways, right? A lot of those evil ways. So we think, because we don't know Saul or Paul's real story. What we got was a regurgitated story that they put in the Bible about somebody named Saul who became Paul and became an apostle of Jesus Christ, right? But you don't know what Saul went through. You have accounts and recollections of this man who had this story, who went through these things. It might not be true. It might not be all factual. You never talked to Saul's family when he was Saul, and you never talked to Paul's family when he was Paul. You got third-hand accounts from a book that was written so long ago that the information divulged through those books can be misinterpreted by many. A lot of us don't even read the book. A lot of us just take the information that somebody else tells us about the book, and we're happy with that, right? Now, if you observe the same book and you're not being judgmental, and you're being a true observer, right? A true truth seeker who want to know the ins and outs of what's going on, right? So what you do, you observe this book, you go acquire more information, you start to do more research, right? You compile all the information to the point where you could probably write a book on Saul's life becoming Paul, right? You could write a whole book on this man and his journey, turning from a monster, a killer, a heinous person to becoming a person of God, right? That's being an observer. But are you then a judgmental person by actually giving your own reaccounts and things like that, or giving your own personal hypothesis, your own personal theory on this person's life in any type of way? Now, it's one thing to see a person's life and have your own thoughts about it, even write books, probably tell stories, but you got to leave the interpretations of that story up to the person reading it. You know what I mean? You can't give a finite, definite answer whether a person is or ain't what they are because you're merely observing their life or read a book that somebody wrote because they uh, read about their life or wrote about their life, right? You can't. It's impossible to do that. I mean, it's possible to do that, but are you being true to that person's story? Are you being true to yourself and the recount of information that you collected? Not all the time. Not all the time. You know, I observe a lot of shit every fucking day. Every fucking day I see a lot of shit. Every day I see a lot of dumb shit that goes on. I hear a lot of dumb shit that goes on. I see a lot of dumb shit that goes on, right? But when you're getting this information, it's like, what do you do with it? What do you do with that, right? What do you do with the things that you hear or see about a certain situation that you're not in? What do you do with that? This whole thing came about because I was thinking yesterday I was in a situation where things were being said about around me, not about me, but around me. You know what I mean? And I don't like to include myself in anybody's shit, but I hear things. When things are said, we have ears to hear, and I listen. You know, and I thought to myself, matter of fact, it was a situation. I was watching a scary movie, right? With my it's weird situation with my mother's with my daughter's mother and my daughter. I'm watching a movie, scary movie, Scream. She don't watch scary movies at all, right? She don't like scary movies. So as we're watching this movie, she began to say things. I like to wonder about the mind state of a person who likes to watch scary movies, this and that. I don't see why y'all watching this and that, right? The whole thing is she missed the aspect that people could be learning from this movie, not to be a killer, but how not to be killed. It's purely about your perception of a thing, right? You can't sit up there and say that a person watching this movie intends to do any foul shit, right? You can't. It's purely entertainment, and it being entertainment and it continuing to be entertainment is purely up to the person watching. You know what I mean? If you don't like it, don't watch. But you can't condemn a person because they're watching what they want to watch at the moment. They could be using it to learn from. Some people just want a different experience. Some people just want to watch a scary movie because they're tired of adventure movies or they're tired of comedy movies or romantic movies. You know what I mean? Did I say adventure movies? That's one of my favorite type of movies. But you got to let a person go through the gamut of watching these movies because the movies come from real life, right? There's no movie under the sun that didn't come from a real place, right? A person had to be given this script, this whatever, in order to read it, to build a cast of characters and everything to actually play the characters in this movie. So it's coming from a very real place. Sometimes that real place that these movies are portrayed from is not a place where you would like it to come from, right? Because there's a lot of facets and different things that people go through life and a lot of shit and situations that happens in life, right? People go through this shit all the time. So, of course, the movies might glorify it or glamify it, right? They might sit up there and portray something not fully to the truth or the heart that actually was going on, right? That's why they have fictional movies or non-fiction movies or things that's based on the truth. That's the term they use a lot. This movie is based on a true story. That tells you right there that movie came from somewhere real. That movie actually came from someone. Somebody lived this. Somebody had these accounts, right? And just because you don't know that person and you don't know what about this movie is true or false, right? You can't judge it. I mean, you can judge it, but all you could do is observe and enjoy it. Whether would it be like you can't. You got to let a person enjoy the movie that they're observing. Some people go to the movies to be more of a judgmental person and judge the movie. We even come out of the movies having condemning thoughts about the actors in the movie because they played the role that they got paid to play. You can't really judge an actor on a role. You can't judge an actor based on the role that they were paid to play. They were paid to play that role. So now you mad at the brother that let your favorite actor die in a movie because that's the role that he was paid to play, that he was paid to portray. You can't. You can't. That's like that's the same thing as getting mad at a person or being judgmental of a person living everyday life when they're not even being paid to act that role out. They're not even paid to have that personality or that characteristic that they have. It's just natural to them. Their payment is just living life, basically, or what they do with that story that they have to make a movie out of. Or maybe it is a movie. Maybe somebody in the stars and on the moon or in the sky on Mars some fucking where is watching this, laughing at what the fuck we going through. Observing what we're going through, right? It's a deep, deep concept. It's a deep, deep concept. It's one that is multifaceted. It's like, So anyway, back to what I was saying. She was being judgmental, but I had to point it out. That, you could learn from a scary movie or because the movie was Scream. We was watching the last Scream movie. I know it's a very cliche movie. It's kind of a corny horror movie. You know what I mean? It don't really have any demonic shit except for people stabbing people and things like that. But the movie, in case you never checked out Scream before, the movie is basically a movie based around making a scary movie called Stab. So you're watching Scream, and within Scream, you have movie students and film students and things like that trying to make their own Stab film, right? So they're making a Stab film, and they want to make this movie as real as possible. So they got a killer, and film students and things like that become the killer, and then they always explain the ins and outs of a scary movie and stuff like this. And that's Stab, with a great cast, great characters, and it's pretty fucking entertaining, right? But it can also teach you how not to get put in compromising positions where you're likely to get what? Stabbed, by a dude in a fucking ghost mask or some shit like that. Or how not to be betrayed, or portrayed as a villain in any type of character. I mean, in any type of situation that you find yourself in any type of situation that you might find yourself in life, right? So you learn how to not be the main suspect. You learn how to not put yourself in a position with a killer. You learn how to not separate from the group, you know what I mean? And stick with the group so that way you won't be able to be cornered by a killer or two. You know what I mean? You learn these things by watching these things, right? If you never been through these type of things in your life, right, then how are you going to deal with that situation if it ever occurs, if you've never seen any examples of that situation? The only way you'll be able to see examples of that situation is by going to a movie or playing a simulation game. Some people, and this is a fact, a lot of our soldiers and things like that, a lot of our military people, they use video games and things like that and virtual reality for training simulations, right? A lot of them never been in the situations that the video games portray. A lot of our military people or service people, they sit behind computers and do drone strikes and things like that. They even trying to make autonomous soldiers so that way the loss of life is decreased, right? Because that's what the value is on. The value is on your life, Whether you like it or not, the value is on your life. Whether you come out a winner, whether you come out on top or not, the value is life. You know, some people want to see your life taken, some don't want to see your life taken, period. That's why they give you training simulations, right? These training simulations is the video games we play. These training simulations are the VR, virtual reality headsets that we go out and buy and we enjoy every day, right? Because with virtual reality, you learn how to not get vertigo when you're inside a headset, or when you're floating upside down, or when you're in a reality that's not your reality. You're in a virtual reality, right? So it's simulating you holding a gun, or you running and jumping, or you climbing a mountain, or you driving a truck, or flying an airplane. Whatever you're playing is simulating that, right? So this way, when you go do these things in real life, if you ever get a chance to do them in real life, you kind of got a grasp on what's going on and how to maneuver in that atmosphere and how to do these things, because you got a first-hand account or a second-hand account, a virtual account of exactly the things that you're supposed to be doing in this situation, right? So, needless to say, all of it is just a learning experience. How you doing, man? All of it is just merely a learning experience, right? And it's up to you to take this experience and use it or not, or whether you might find yourself in a situation where you have to use these type of experiences for good or for bad, right? That's why you can't really be judgmental, because to pass judgment is to ultimately pass the opportunity to learn, right? Because when when somebody's being judgmental, it's like boom, they're putting a stamp on it. They're like, all right, this is that. This is that because I deem it to be that, right? But what if there's more to learn there, right? If there's more to learn there, you miss that opportunity by being judgmental. You miss that opportunity to learn more from a person's situation or what they're going through by merely passing judgment. In order to get the full knowledge or the full depth of any situation or thing that's going on in your life, somebody else's life, in the world, across country, to figure out the truth of behind something that happened to somebody in their life, to figure out the truth of something that's happening in your life, you can't pass judgment. You have to be very observant. You have to remain observant. Even when you get those judgmental, like once you pass judgment, you still have to go back to a place of being observant. You have to always return back to being observant, or else you miss vital information. If you're missing that vital information, you'll never have the complete story. You know what I mean? You won't ever have the complete story anyway. By being observant, you might grasp 95% of the story. The other 5% is where? The other 5% is with the person who's actually living that story, who's actually living that life, who's actually given a director this script to cast characters for. That's who the other 5% has. You know what I mean? That person has 100% observed everything. You know what I mean? In some cases, they get through it, they skip past it by being high or being out of their mind in a way, or just, just letting shit take its course. Some people never even figure out the full intricacies of their own life. So at that point, do you think that you really have the full 95% of that story that you need to be truly observant or judgmental on a person? No, you really don't. Because none of us will ever get the other 5%. The other 5% lies with the person who lived that life. The other 5% lives in that person's mind. Their personal accounts. That's who always have that other 5%. You know what I mean? Now, when you sit and you take a person's life story, right? Let's say I gave up my life story, right? We're making this fucking movie, right? And they do this movie and they make it as close to accurate as possible, right? I would have to sit down and give a review of this movie or give my synopsis on this movie. You know what I mean? In order for you to get that other 5%. This is why they have director's cuts and things like that. Because even a director's cut, you're probably getting the extra 2% of the truth behind whatever story or situation that's going on. You might get that extra 2%, but you still don't have the other 3. You don't have that other 3% of observation or judgment, or you don't have that other 3% of the story to observe, to really be judgmental about a person's situation. You know, just stop being judgmental. You know what I mean? A lot of people out here is judging a person's story for vain reasons, because they want to make themselves feel better, because they just like being newsy. You know, it's something intriguing about being in somebody else's business, especially when your life is fucked up or going through something, or to make yourself feel like, oh, at least I'm not going through that. You know what I mean? Oh, at least I'm not doing this, or at least I'm not going through that right there. You know what I mean? Or we pass judgment to teach a lesson. You know what I mean? Some of us pass judgment so we could look at our kids and say, hey, never end up like that guy, or never do what that girl is doing. But you can't really do that. You can't really ever be judgmental. So just be an observer. You know what I mean? That's my message to anybody out there who's looking at another person's walk of life, or you know, them living life and going through their trials and tribulations or whatever they're meant to go through, right? All you can really do is be an observer of this person's situation or of that person's life, right? Yeah, that's it. That was a whole episode. That was deep. That was a deep ass episode. Now I'm gonna tell you what happened earlier. This white dude, right? He was sitting in this fucking car over here. He was sitting in like a little hatchback joint, like a little. The fuck was that thing? I forgot what it was, but it was white. Had blacked out windows, and it was a white guy. I'm in the Spanish fucking neighborhood right here. White guy. For no reason, he ride past and make a lewd gesture. You know what I mean? He didn't say shit, but he made a lewd gesture. I don't know why, but I have my suspicions. I don't want to pass judgment on this guy, but I do have my suspicions. In light of what I'm going through in my life, I do believe he was working either for the FBI, CIA, Mafia. Ooh, that's scary. But in my being observant, I learned that the Masonic order, you know, in Philadelphia is actually ran by the Mafia, right? The Masonic order is actually ran by the Mafia, right? And the Mafia is with who? The feds and the CIA and all that shit. They try to control the whole environment that we live in, or that we're living in right now, right? So I suspect, I can't say that, you know, I know 100% who this motherfucker was. He could have just been having a bad fucking day, right? He could have just been having a bad day, wanted to pass that energy to somebody else. But more than likely, that's not the case. More than likely, he was sitting over there to watch me, to see what I'm doing. Because I'm recording this podcast, I'm walking around. I'm just on the block walking around. You know, I'll walk over to the playground. I'll, you know, see some passerby and speak to him or whatever. You know, just doing my shit out here. So I suspect that this motherfucker was with one of these organizations or from one of these people. You know, what I observe about my own life is that my life has been nothing but a big ass, I don't know, I don't want to say experiment, I don't want to say exploitation, I don't want to say setup, but I do want to say that my life has been one that was being guided for a long time. my life is one that's been in Philadelphia, guided for a long time. And a lot of you people out here in Philadelphia don't even realize that you're being guided every day. You're being led astray, run them up, bamboozled, as Malcolm X would say, you know? And that's what's going on in your life every day, and you don't realize it. You know, I can't help that I'm observant enough to realize these things. I can't help that, you know, I play into the hands of situations that's going on because I was meant to. And it's the same thing in your life. You're meant to play in the hands or not play in the hands of a certain situation because you're simply meant to, you know? What did the mafia like to say on the Godfather movies? What was their catchphrase? What was one of the things that everybody loved to hear? I'm gonna make you an offer that you can't refuse. And a lot of people don't even really understand the depths of that statement that's being said on these mafia movies. An offer that I can't refuse. How is there possibly any type of offer in the world that a person can't refuse? You know what I mean? Is it due to money? Is it due to a threat? Is it due to a life situation? Is it due to, you know, blackball? What does it do? Why can't I refuse this offer? Is the offer that fucking good that I gotta say yes? What if I choose to refuse that offer? What if I choose not to not to take your offer? What's gonna happen? Am I gonna die? Are you gonna kill me? Are you gonna make my life a living hell? Well, that's exactly what it is. You know what I mean? On the movies, they portray like they kill people and all that shit, right? And I'm pretty sure they do. And trust me, they have the power too. And they do at times. But nowadays, it's a game that's fought with laws and legislature. You know what I mean? It's games that's fought with the government. The G that's on the Masonic coin stands for government. It don't stand for God. But one is the same. You know what I mean? One is the same. When you have a government playing God, that's what they do. They'll try to push you towards religion. They'll try to push you towards living your life the way they want you to live it at any cost, even at the expense of your life. You know what I mean? Even at the expense of anything, they'll try to guide your life. That's what the government do. That's what the Masonic order is. It's the government playing God, and they have people in places who takes their orders and they can't refuse those orders. And you, when you're approached, when you're given an ultimatum, right? When you're given an option, right? You can't refuse. Why can't you refuse? Because it goes back to that thing that I was saying about the CIA. And the CIA being a part of your central nervous system, your lymphatic system. Them implanting something there when you're young, or, you know, not implanting something when you're young. I don't know how they get there, how they get to the point where they can guide your life and things like this. But that's basically what they could do. It's an offer that you can't refuse because they literally have some type of control over the environment that you live in. And the scarier thing is they may have control of you. Something in you might be one that tells you to do what they say do. So it's an offer that you literally can't refuse. How can you refuse an offer that's beckoning from inside of you, that's calling it inside of you? How can you refuse an offer when they're going to affect your ability to live on a daily basis and to make money and to live with your family and affect the way that your family treats you, right? Affect the very way that your family treats you, like I've experienced. Like my whole fucking family on my mother's side turned their back on me. You know, I've never had a real strong relationship with my father's side. He's Cuban. You know what I mean? That's probably another reason why I don't have a strong connection with them. Because back in the day, the mafia and Cubans had problems with each other. You know, of course they had a problem with Native Americans too. You know, but they like to use everybody, right? Because everybody has their innate abilities and things like this. So Native Americans are in tune with more of the earth. They're more in tune with themselves. They might have natural abilities that other people don't have, right? Or other people can obtain, but they might naturally have it. So they use these abilities and things like that. There's documents about this stuff. I ain't got to explain it on my podcast, but there's documents about all this stuff. And the classified CIA documents and the classified FBI documents. It's all documented. So you don't have to take my word for any of it. You know, when I talk about hypnosis, telekinesis, when I talk about clairvoyance, when I talk about remote viewing and things like this, they have actual documents that I've saved to my phone and, you know, that I've printed out and things like that and put in safe places so that way I could, you know, go back to them and always have this information on hand, have documents about this stuff. So really, you know, that's been my episode of God Concept. Anyway, that's been my episode. I just went off on that tirade because, you know, at times you get tired of being led or being told what to say or what to do, sometimes subliminally and sometimes through thoughts that we're having, or sometimes it's just the people that we're dealing with, you know, the people that we see on a daily basis or that we live our life with on a daily basis could make you feel a certain way. And sometimes you might wonder, like, where are these feelings coming from? Or why would this person say that? Or why is this happening right now? And it's literally because it's being controlled. It's all about control. You know what I mean? So that's what they like to do. And I like to resist control. I love resisting control. I love being naturally who I'm meant to be. You know what I mean? I love doing things that's natural to me. And that's what I'm going to continue to do. Win, lose, or draw. You know, when you're being true to yourself, no matter who judging you, who see you as winning, losing, or drawing, or this and that, you know what I mean? You always win when you're being natural or doing what's natural to you. You always win. You can't lose when you're in a natural state. You know what I mean? Like that story I told you earlier about the little boys and the little girls who grow up and they get a little age on them, and then people around them is judging them because they may have did this and did that. And then ultimately they become who they're going to be when they're adults. And some of them, they stay stuck in a sunken place where they turn to drugs and alcoholism and prostitution and all these kind of things, right? And some of them, they grow and they become pillars of their community, or they become what they naturally were supposed to be, right? Whatever that is, an artist, whatever they create in their life, whatever's natural for them to do, you know, whether that's a sports player, whatever. But the whole thing is, you never really grasp. You can't be judgmental of a system that's putting you in its position to be judged. I don't know. I lost my fact, what I was saying, my point. But yeah, this has been an episode of God Concept. I've been your host, Mr. Pagan. Join me again whenever the fuck I feel like dropping another episode. Yeah. Peace.